Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain, Break It Down Forex. It's your boy, Big Bain, and this thing. And you guys guessed it, another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. All right, boom, over on the dollar, guys. So last week, it looks like we broke above the high of last week, and we've pushed to sweep above the swing point that we have to the left. So this could be a liquidity sweep, all right, to where, you know, we reverse from this point like we did previously, all right. But it could also be a situation where we may continue to rise and then retrace, respecting the area that we broke, and then probably rising again, all right. So this is definitely going to be a time will tell kind of situation on the dollar, all right. As we look at it on the daily, all right, you can see that it also, you know, just kept going up every day since Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? The dollar just kept rising, which was pretty surprising because, well, not super surprising. I mean, I did expect it to rise to kind of sweep this equal high here, but I didn't think it'll break above the swing point. I thought it would have hit the supply area and then started to drop. But again, when you understand liquidity, then you have a good idea of what price is most likely going to try to go, right, before it potentially goes in the direction that you first thought it would. All right. So with the way that things are looking, especially coming into this week, we don't really have any news for the dollar on Monday and Tuesday. But on Wednesday, I believe we have FOMC as well as PPI. And then I think it's Thursday, we have like unemployment, and they're expecting unemployment to be higher, which is not going to be a good thing if that's the case. So we could definitely see dollar drop anywhere from Wednesday to Friday, giving the results of the economic news. All right. But because of this, you know, major up move that the dollar's been making all week, is definitely due for a correction or a pullback or a retracement, right, from this area. So I am still expecting the dollar to drop. If we look at it on a lower time frame, all right, we can still see that we don't quite have any change of character, right? In terms of the structure, we're still very, very bullish, right? Run, pullback, run, pullback, run, pullback. Again, this is a run, so the next phase should be the pullback. What we will be looking for is the dollar to potentially get below this low, all right? If it does that, then that will be what we call our change of character. And at that point, okay, we will be expecting the dollar to continue falling if we get that. All right, there is a possibility that we can get a change on a lower time frame here, like the 15-minute, where you guys can see, instead of this super low down here, or this low that's from a higher time frame, we can potentially break this low right here, right? Because again, this is a low that broke a high, right? When it pushed up like this, it broke this high. So if we can get price to come back and break below that, right, that would also give us a change of character. All right, guys, to where we can see a retracement to any point of interest that we may happen to have. And then from there, we'll just see the dollar continue to fall. All right. But, you know, right now, we do have a bearish engulfing candle, which is a good indication that the dollar will start to drop. Right now, whether or not it breaks these important lows has yet to be seen, because it can, you know, come down to those, respect them, and then just continue rising. All right. So it's going to be a lot of, you know, waiting as per usual to kind of get a good idea on what the dollar is going to do. But I'm definitely bearish once again on the dollar, even though last week it did a little more rising on Friday than I expected it to do for the week. I did expect it to push up to this area, but I expected us to start rejecting from this supply area to fall but you know, the market obviously had other plans of grabbing liquidity behind these equal highs, which also are a double top. All right, so liquidity has been taken, and now we have plenty of fuel to push to the downside. All right, given we break or we have a change of character, you know, on those lows that I showed you guys from a higher time frame. All right, guys, so you know, let's see, you know, what it's going to be. You know, set some alerts at these areas so that when it does, you know, change, right, you can start looking for your opportunities that line up with the dollar falling, which, you know, is going to be gold, buying silver, right, buying Euro USD, pound USD, you know, those kind of pairs, and selling pairs like USD CHF, USD JPY, USD CAD, right? But yeah, very, you know, excited and looking forward to the dollar dropping, because it will, you know, provide plenty of opportunities to just, you know, pick your poison on the major pairs and really make a bag. So pay attention this week, guys, as we really have a great opportunity for it to drop now. That is swept all liquidity, all buy side liquidity from all these equal highs as well as these equal highs. So no more liquidity in terms of, you know, being very close by that we need to go get in order to start dropping. We got what we need, so let's hope it proceeds. All right, bearish on the dollar, right, over to JPY. All right, you guys can see on Friday we pushed up, right, and we broke above Thursday and Wednesday candles, so that was a very strong move on the JPY. And because of that, I'm still expecting it to continue rising to take out the weekly high from last week. All right, so we may see some sort of retracement on that if we look at it from a lower time frame. All right, look at that beautiful structure. All right, guys, so we had a nice little change of character here, right, pushing up, even getting above this high point here, right, but creating this huge imbalance. So we may see JPY just retrace into that imbalance, retesting the area that it broke, which was the previous or Friday's high or Friday's low at that time. Well, really, this would be, because this would be Friday's high right here, and this might be Thursday's high at that time, right? So just retesting that and then going to take out the weekly high. All right, so I'm bullish on JPY, and again, we're looking at pairs that include the JPY to sell. All right, so your GJs, right, your CJs, all the Js, whichever your favorite pair of the JPY is, you may want to pay very close attention to that one more time. Again, this previous week we really didn't quite get it to where it fell tremendously, but it did start to fall as the JPY started to rise on Thursday and well into Friday, right? So those last 2 days of last week we started to get what we need, but now this week we should definitely get more than we bargained for in terms of selling those JPY pairs. All right, so bullish on JPY, and don't forget to, you know, take advantage of whatever sell opportunities your JPY pairs have. All right, here we go. Odd dollar. All right, so the dollar kept rising, therefore odd dollar kept falling. Okay, and we did have a few days, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we did rise to sweep liquidity, right? And then Thursday, Friday is where we dropped, because Thursday and Friday on the dollar is where we got, you know, pretty strong move to the upside. A lot of the economic news for the dollar regarding PCE, and I believe it was I want to say CPI, it was, or maybe unemployment, or employment or unemployment, one of the two. They were, you know, really the news came out great, right? So it was inflation came out good, and then, you know, PCE, I believe, and unemployment, they also came out better than expected. So the dollar ended up pushing up, which caused odd dollar to fall. But once again, because I'm expecting the dollar to fall, I'm expecting odd dollar to just sweep any of the liquidity that we see here from the previous week low right? This break of structure that we see from the past, right? Get down to that area, sweep that, and then potentially start to rise. All right, so as much as we didn't get a major move up on our dollar, we have now gotten our retracement, right? And we're still bullish. I know this looks, pretty consolidated, but we continue to break highs, and this is just the retracement of that break. So don't let it fool you. We have not gone into an actual bearish market structure on our dollar just yet. All right, maybe that'll happen this week, maybe not, right? But as far as I'm concerned right now, it is setting up, or it's still bullish, and it is at a low price point, which is good for buying. All right, so bullish on our dollar, guys. All right, euro dollar, same exact thing, right? So we were here getting a lot of rejection, and I was basically letting you guys know that I'm looking for that buying opportunity. But again, dollar had other plans because of the positive news, so it rose and euro fell, sweeping this liquidity, that liquidity, and tapping into our demand area. So as we begin this week, guys, I'm definitely more bullish, if you will, now, because I've seen what has happened, right? And this is a massive bearish candle coming into this demand zone. Typically when it's like that, it gets rejected and it reverses, right? Versus when you have like a choppy move coming into a support area, right? It typically can break it because it's showing you that the sellers are showing up at lower price points, right? So when you get something like this, all right, when you get prices going, and then it gets there, all the high points are getting lower, so it's giving more of a reason to potentially break that support area that we see here. Versus when you get a move like this, you get this, get a little something, and then you get a big move like this down into support. Typically it's not showing a lot of bearish pressure coming into that zone, right? Yes, it's a big bear candle, but it's not holding any high levels, or I'm sorry, it's the lows, the highs are not getting lower, right, and remaining lower to show bearish strength, right? So then with these kind of situations, we can easily get a reversal back to the top, and it's perfectly set up right now for you guys to take advantage of that. All right, so if you do, you're looking at roughly 600 pips, right? It may take 6 days, it might take a little more, but just knowing that you're getting in from the very low is the way to go. All right, guys, so I'm bullish on euro dollar still. Over the pound dollar, same exact thing, guys. You can see how we've broken highs, right? Made new highs, even broke these highs over here, all the retracement, right? And then a major push down right into demand. I definitely expect to see just a reversal from this point on pound dollar to start rising and getting above this particular swing high, right? We may just get to here first, right? Every one of these highs is basically a target area or a take profit place, right? So when everybody's asking where should I take my money, right, you also you always want to take it at the very first or the nearby swing, if we put it that way. All right, so that's the very first swing, so take some money here, right? Then if it still goes, right, you can take your money here and then here, etc. All right, guys, so that's the way you want to play GU for a buying opportunity. And if we just measure that first move, right, we're looking at roughly 257 pips on GU, and that's really all you need on a standard lot. That's $2,570 for just a week, right? If it even takes that long, because you can see here 1, 2, 3 days it went 200 pips. Okay, so it can happen in one day, it may happen in 3 or 5, but knowing that you gotten in from the low, right, you had a very good risk to reward, and you had a very good lot size on it, you can really do damage with just that move alone. All right, guys, so again, trying to set you up for success, but you got to get in to win. So make your decision. All right, bullish on GU. NU, same exact thing. We're heading into, again, a demand area right here. Okay, so right from there, it's doing exactly how EU, GU have done, right? Major push down right into that area. So once again, I'm looking to purchase a buy coming back up to the high for 300 pips on New Zealand dollar. I'm bullish. All right, guys, over the dollar CAD. So now here on dollar CAD, guys, we did get a break of a low here, and then we created a new low. Everything here that we're seeing is basically consolidation and liquidity engineering, right? It's building liquidity to, you know, have manipulated before it goes in its intended direction. So if you remember, before we actually had this liquidity built up, we were in a downtrend, all right? Again, breaking lows, making new lows. So what we want to be looking for is sells. And if we want to be looking for sells, then we want to see buy side liquidity swept first. So far, so good is what it looks like it's doing, right? So, you know, when we look for any points of interest, we can see pretty much about a fair value gap right here, but it's already tapped into that pretty nicely, all right, from a previous time. All right, and then above that, you know, we have the supply area that sits up here before that major push down. All right, so potentially, again, it could, you know, get there, but the way that we're getting the rejection here, every time we're in this area of the zone, it's giving a good indication that we're most likely going to drop. So again, I'll expect a little bit of a push up a little deeper into this fair value gap, and then from there I'll be looking for the drop on dollar CAD. All right, guys, I'm bearish. All right, dollar CHF, once again, this is still beautiful and a lovely setup. All right, this is very, very textbook. All right, so again, I was looking for the drop before, but 1, 2, 3, right, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we got that rise. I knew that was going to happen as well, but you know, I didn't expect it to get too far above this wick. I just expected to take out the wick and then start to drop, right? But again, it doesn't always go how you want it to, right? Which is why you just have to know how to read and be patient. Once, you know, things start to play out, then that's when you pull the trigger. All right, so sitting on my hands all week last week for dollar CHF, but now, you know, I have my opportunity to get in from this supply area. Okay, and we can make this a beautiful sell coming down to the low. Again, 318 pips, guys. The majors, I haven't gotten any other pairs yet, just the majors. They're all giving really, really good setups, guys. EU, GU, NU, dollar CAD, and dollar CHF, all very, very good in terms of the amount of pips that you can potentially get this week. All right, FOMC on Wednesday is also, you know, one of those catalysts that will, you know, just kind of set things on fire if you're not afraid to trade during, you know, that time. All right, bearish on dollar CHF. All right, dollar JPY. So dollar JPY definitely, you know, went above the highs. So we just broke above here. All right, so that is a break of structure to the upside, and we also broke the previous day high, so it tells us it wants to go higher. But if we look left, how much higher are we going to go? Are we going to make it to this particular swing high here? Okay, where there's also imbalance. There's a huge imbalance from here to here. All right, and we're already within that imbalance. So once again, what I'll be looking for is to see, you know, how far the dollar actually rises, you know, when the week opens. Because if I get any candle that is a bearish engulfing candle or a closing back within the range, right, then I'm definitely going to be looking for my sell opportunity on UJ, as that ties into the JPY index rising. All right, so again, guys, great plays, but you know, just takes a little time to, you know, play out or develop. All right, so UJ, I am bearish. right? Pound odd, right? We broke above Thursday's high, and it's pretty significant, right? So got the new low, broke above. I expect price to continue rising, potentially taking out the previous week high, and we're looking at about 188 pips for pound odd. I'm still bullish, even though structure is bearish. All right, so we broke this low right here. We created the new low. So all of this is mainly just a pullback to this point of interest, which is the supply area that broke this low. So again, just getting up to there for that 188 pips is a bullish move. But if it doesn't break above here, we are still bearish to where pound odd can start to fall once it gets here. All right, so don't let it fool you in terms of thinking that it's just going to go to the moon, right? It's possible, right? But take your money once it gets to this area first, and then if it does happen to break above that area, then wait one more time for price to come back, wait a little bit more for some bulls to show up, showing you that it respected this as support. Now take the trade and now aim for your next swings wherever you happen to see them, and that's the easiest way to get paid. All right, bullish on pound odd. Moving over to pound CAD. All right, guys, pound CAD, again, we did sweep this low. All right, so we had a break of structure actually on pound CAD to the downside, and this is a lot of garbage, right? It's a lot of, you can't really tell what's going on. But because we broke the low, typically we will have some retracement to start, right? Once we find a floor, which it looks like it did, right? And it did start to rise up, but then, all last week, we fell slowly but surely. Okay, so we could continue falling, right? But if we happen to see any bull candles show up that break back within the area that we broke, right, then that's where we can see pound CAD continuing to rise. For now, unfortunately, it is still bearish. All right, need price to break above Friday's high before we start to go bullish, and the retracement for this down move begins. All right, guys, so bearish on pound CAD. All right, pound CHF. So you can see as we came down, we started to respect or we started to make higher lows, right? And kind of respecting this area to the left as a major swing point. Okay, all right, rejecting it nicely, coming back above it with the bullish engulfing candle, and then price does go higher. So here's one where I'm definitely expecting it to continue rising, getting to the next swing levels that we see to the left. All right, and we're talking 200 pips here, or 328 pips there on pound CHF. I'm bullish. All right, GJ, so you can see my team sold. All right, we're up 73 pips on a Friday. All right, so don't ever let them tell you nothing happens on Sunday or Fridays. All right, this is living proof. Okay, so we broke this low over here, made the new low, retraced all the way back to our supply, and then guess what? Kaboom, right? So I'm expecting GJ to just continue falling as it broke Thursday's low, went lower. Friday, we may get a little bit of retracement, maybe half of this candle before we fall, or we could just completely tank. All right, it's up to the market gods, how that goes. But just know that you want to look for your selling opportunity on GJ, and because here on a lower time frame, guys, we have this huge imbalance, right? We have imbalance here, and then we also have another huge imbalance here. It is possible that we can start to get up to these imbalance levels, right, before we start to come on down. All right, so just watch out for that, right? If you're looking to sell, don't sell it here right out the gate when it's already low. Even if it just continues to push down, you just miss out, right? That's how that goes. Anytime you guys try to catch a falling knife, right, that's when it typically turns around and cuts you, right? So you'll sell it here and it'll push down a little bit, and then it'll do the retracement to the imbalance, and then it'll go. So you'll feel a little bit of happiness. Oh, I'm in profit. And then, hey, what the hell is going on, right? Takes you out, and then does what? Goes exactly in the direction that you initially tried to get in. But because you got in low, right, you subjected yourself to that retracement, to that pullback, which isn't ideal. All right, again, it's just the name of the game. We don't sell low, we don't buy high, right? So if you're looking to sell, GJ, wait for some sort of retracement, no matter how long it takes, right? Wait for that retracement and then get in for the sell. Trust me, you'll feel a lot better. All right, so bearish on GJ. All right, over to pound New Zealand, and yeah, pound New Zealand was one of the bullish setups from last week, and it still is. Right, so yeah, we had break above this high, made the new high, retraced into our point of interest, which was a fair value gap, and then Thursday and Friday is where we did the most damage, rising up. All right, so we're very close to taking out the previous week high, which I believe we're just gonna do right when the week begins. Sunday or Monday, we'll just start to continue to rise up on pound New Zealand. Definitely have some liquidity sitting here at these equal highs, all right, that it can go and get. So, you know, watch out for, you know, taking that and potentially dropping. But the way that we've been dropping and then finding a floor and starting uptrend market structure, I can see us just continuing to rise. All right, guys, bullish on pound New Zealand. All right, silver, man, what a roller coaster this has been. All right, so you know, shout out to my boy Martez. We sold from this area as we knew there was engineered liquidity here. I'm sorry, we sold from here because of the consolidation, but we saw the engineered liquidity here, which price eventually went to go get last week, right? So as we're expecting the rise and the continuation of it, silver was like, nah, not yet, right? We don't want to go up just yet. We want to grab this liquidity, possibly this liquidity in the demand area as well, and then, you know, we have this FEG sitting above demand. So what I'm saying for silver this week, guys, is we can do one of these numbers and then, you know, we can go and take off, or, you know, we can do one of these numbers where we come down to this area, right, and then respect that and, you know, start to take off to the upside. Okay, just know that we're probably going to get a drop first, right, before we get that bullish opportunity to buy silver. And boy, oh boy, once we get that, it is on like hot butter popcorn. We are going to be getting back up to, you know, 120, possibly higher, especially with FOMC and other news catalysts for the end of the week. So, you know, the party's most likely going to begin on Wednesday, and it's going to, you know, set things off on Friday. All right, but you just got to be patient, right? Wait for that extra little drop, however it comes, here or there, right? And then once you get some bullish candles to form at these areas, it's go time. All right, guys, silver will get you paid on any lot size, all right, that you take, especially if we get a major rise up. So, you know, do what you can. All right, bullish on silver. All right, gold, same exact thing, same MO. All right, engineering that liquidity, right? So we have our high and we have our low. Everything within there is internal, guys, and this internal liquidity is always going to get gapped first before price continues to go in the upward, you know, trend that it's been in. All right, guys, so looking to see gold dip just a little bit more, possibly, all right, before getting the rise. Again, we can just rise right out the gate, because you guys know there's a lot of crazy talk with Trump on, you know, what he's going to do to try to keep the oil open, you know, the oil path, right, open, and just so many things, right? So you know, Iran is attacking back, and, you know, there's just always some sort of highlight in terms of what's going on with the war that will, you know, bring everybody to the safe havens of the metals, right? Gold and silver. So watch out for that additional little sweep, and from there things should be sweet as far as gold and silver rising highly. All right, guys. So temporarily bearish, but overall bullish still on the metals. All right, moving over to natural gas. And as we look at natural gas from the daily, right, we can see a little bit of engineered liquidity here. All right, that we can once again go get as we have this imbalance that also hasn't really been tapped into. Okay, so adding that to the mix, I mean, we did get a little touch, but you know, I've seen this movie before to where price will still dive deep because it's trying to grab the liquidity of this trend line. I guess it's trying to grab the liquidity of this trend line and then, you know, mitigate that demand area right before rising and taking off, right? Typically oil and gas will be, you know, some of those things that also tend to do well during you know, war times. All right, guys, bullish on natural gas, watching out for the sweep first. All right, and speaking of oil, here it is. All right, guys, broke above, well, every day, just about from Tuesday, because Wednesday we did have a weird kind of move. I mean, Monday had a weird kind of move on oil, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we rose significantly, right? So I expect oil to just continue rising, right? And my team bought it. We're up, you know, about from 80 to 99, right? Which is 19. So we're up basically 1,900 pips on oil, right? It's ridiculous, and oil does pay. So guys, try to take advantage best way you can. Again, don't buy high, wait for some sort of retracement, then buy. But because you hear me saying that it's going to take off, and you know, war is you know, a part of it all, then you may try to buy it while it's high, right? And it could just keep rising, right? You never really know, but just know that the more you buy high, it's not good, right? And the more you sell low, it's not good. You always want to buy low and sell high. All right, so just, you know, wait for some sort of retracement, and that'll be a better situation for you to purchase oil. All right, bullish on oil. All right, SPY. So SPY was dropping, my team caught it, and we're up, let's see, about 185 points. Right, we broke the low of Thursday, so I expect SPY to continue falling, taking out the previous week low and possibly tapping into this demand area. All right, guys, from there we may see it rise, as again I'm expecting the dollar to fall, which typically causes the indices to rise. So, you know, you may have been hearing some, you know, uncertainty about stocks falling because of the war, but we have another opportunity, guys, where there may be a chance for it to redeem itself or recover once it gets to this demand area and start to rise. All right, so don't be too fearful just yet of a super crash, because we need to get below this low first, right, before we can say, okay, you know, SPY is going to continue to fall. All right, but for right now, this is simply a nice sweep of liquidity here and heading to mitigate a demand area or support area that we can rise from. All right, so I'm bearish initially on SPY, but afterwards, guys, I'll be looking for my buying opportunity from this area, potentially back up to the previous week high, right? It all depends on how certain things go, especially you know, whatever results we get from economic news. All right, but bearish on SPY. All right, NAS, very, very ugly, crazy consolidation, right? But it is still bearish, right? We broke the low, we made this new low. All of this was internal, and it was crazy. It still is crazy, but NAS did eventually drop and break Thursday's low. So I just expect it to continue going lower. Now, how low? Not exactly sure, right? We can get right back to the previous week low, or we can get to this swing low, right? And getting to any one of those, we're looking at roughly about 400 to 500 points on NAS before we can potentially get a rise. All right, but for now, I'm still bearish on NAS. All right, guys, last but not least, US 30. And so US 30 has also been giving, you know, just major drops from Tuesday of last week, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we finally got to the demand area. So now, right, we can most likely just sweep previous week low and then start to rise. So as bearish as I am on SPY and NAS, US 30, I'm bearish also, but not super bearish, because we're in an area where price can potentially rise from now, right? This is our point of interest, our demand area, and price is definitely, you know, sitting there with the potential to do a sweep, right? A sell side sweep of the previous week low and then go to the top. All right, so watch out for US 30 with the potential buying opportunity. All right, so I'm not going to be, you know, super bearish. I'm just expecting a little bit of a drop, right? But I'm more bullish than bearish on US 30. All right, and that'll do it, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys are looking at, and you know, what you guys think, you know, will happen in terms of the metals, right? With the war going on, or whatever Trump, you know, has us getting into, right? I'd like to know your thoughts, and you know, let's talk about it. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace.
Wanna get money? Wanna get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you gotta come and swing my way. And if you wanna fast forward, hit replay.